Conor McGregor has completely wasted the last 2 years of Michael Chandler's career. Of course, we're back here again. Conor McGregor, in Conor McGregor fashion, has again postponed his returning fight with Michael Chandler just 2 weeks before their fight, this time due to an unknown injury that took place right before the Dublin press conference. This comes 7 months after this moment. Conor McGregor claimed he was coming back in June, 16 months from the first official announcement back in February of last year. And the crazy part is, this comes over 2 years after this iconic moment of Michael Chandler screaming for Conor McGregor all the way back in May of 2022. This fight has been a long time coming and is still a long time coming. Conor McGregor hasn't fought in almost 3 years, having last fought Dustin Poirier in July of 2021, and funnily enough, the last time Michael Chandler fought was also against Dustin Poirier in December of 2022. And using Dustin Poirier for a reference of their inactivity, in the time this fight was officially announced in February of 2023 to now, Dustin has gone on to fight 3 times, got knocked out bad against Justin Gaethje, reminded everyone who he was by knocking out contender Benoit Saint-Denis, and then finally showed his heart against Islam Makhachev in what might have been his last fight ever. Meanwhile, these two haven't touched the octagon in over 2 years now, so what the hell is going on? Why can't this fight be made? Will this fight ever be made? And most importantly, was it worth it for Michael Chandler to wait this long? Is it still worth it to continue to wait for this fight? And has he wasted the last 2 years of his career? So firstly, let's define the red panty night. The idea of the red panty night is true.
Conor McGregor made us rich. Break out the red panties.
It's definitely a celebration for anyone fighting Conor, since usually the biggest fight purse any lightweight fighter in back in the day, any featherweight fighter could make, is a fight with Conor McGregor. Most of Conor's opponents easily make well over $1 million and usually $2 million as well. And that's just the base salary or to show money, or the money just to show up to the fight, and the disclosed fight bonuses like fight of the night or performance of the night. Those numbers do not include the pay-per-view money, which is an undisclosed number percentage of the total revenue generated from the pay-per-view buys. And considering Conor McGregor events routinely well exceed 1 million pay-per-views, fighters are definitely getting much more money on top of the millions they already made from just simply fighting Conor. So for Michael Chandler, the red panty night was huge for his career. He was going to make millions of dollars. His name, though pretty big due to his exciting fights, was going to be even bigger with a fight with Conor McGregor. And unlike Conor's return with Cowboy, I don't think this is going to be a walk in the park for Conor. Michael Chandler's explosiveness, power, and wrestling capability is a real threat to Conor McGregor, and because of this, this fight had, and I guess technically still has, potential for someone to get slept. And if it isn't one of them, it could be you getting high quality sleep. Between editing, recording, boxing, programming, etc., recovery and sleep is very important to me, and I've been looking forward to it every single day recently because of Manta Sleep. Manta Sleep sent me over their mask sound, which is super high quality, and I assume all of the masks are like this. Super comfortable, very adjustable. You can take off the eye cups to adjust it to your particular face shape. And again, I can't get over the quality of this mask, which adds to the comfortability when I'm sleeping. I made sure to get the Manta Sleep sound mask in particular because I like to listen to podcasts and music, and before I used to just put my phone up against my ear. But with this mask, I can connect via Bluetooth and then comfortably listen to whatever I used to listen to, like music and podcasts or ambient sound, now in the comfort of a very high quality mask that is very easy to use, and I've been loving it so far. And you can also upgrade your sleep with Manta Sleep by checking out the link in the description below, and make sure to use my code TJLovesFights for 10% off your order. Thank you, Manta Sleep, for sponsoring this video. But considering this fight has been trying to be made for almost 2 years now and counting, we have to ask, has Michael Chandler's career been officially ruined because of waiting for this fight? And when this red panty night does actually happen, will it be worth it for Michael Chandler? So briefly, let's go over why this fight has been delayed for so damn long. I made a video 6 months ago detailing the delay of Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler, and so I'll recap what happened, add on to what has happened recently, and get everyone up to speed. When this fight officially announced in February of last year, this was also announced alongside a new season of The Ultimate Fighter, where Conor and Michael Chandler would go head-to-head as coaches. It was a fun season with hilarious moments where most of the time Conor's fighters were losing bad, but in the end, Conor and Michael Chandler were supposed to square off with a hint from the show showing that they were supposed to fight at UFC 296 in December of last year. Everything looked good until, in a surprising turn of events, USADA would announce their split with the UFC, claiming in a letter that the UFC tried to bypass the usual process of testing and fast-track Conor back into the UFC. It's important that we also mention that Conor was coming back from filming Roadhouse, and more importantly was coming back from breaking his tibia in the third and last fight with Dustin Poirier. In his recovery and leading up to the shoot of Roadhouse, Conor McGregor went from fighter to bodybuilder and recovered great from his injury, and a little too great. The UFC did the same thing and fast-tracked Brock Lesnar back into the UFC at UFC 200 when he was gigantic in the WWE by having him skip the usual USADA process, and lo and behold, a couple months later, Brock Lesnar gets banned after he tests hot after
taking shit that makes your fucking head grow.
Though this time, USADA was not having it. They didn't let Conor McGregor slide, and in turn, the UFC ended their contract with USADA going forward. But with the UFC stuck with USADA until the end of the year, Conor couldn't get cleared to fight, which put this fight into jeopardy for the target date of December. But no worries, right? A slightly wine-drunk Conor McGregor announced that his fight with Michael Chandler was still going to happen.
On June the 29th, come a little closer, and the opponent, Michael Chandler, and the weight, Mr. Chandler, 185 pounds.
And later, Dana White would confirm this, and so the fight was set. And everything looked good, and there was nothing to worry about. Conor McGregor was even posting sparring footage, looking slick, looking sharp, and looking like he was getting back into the groove of things. Michael Chandler, for the past 2 years, has been training insanely hard, posting motivational quotes year-round, and really has looked like he's been ready to fight. And though everything on the surface was looking good, as soon as I saw Conor partying like this a couple weeks before the fight, I knew it was too good to be true. And of course, a week ago, the UFC 303 press conference in Dublin was cancelled unexpectedly, which led to everyone clamoring for an answer to whether or not this fight was still going to happen. And unfortunately, our suspicions were true. Conor would officially announce days after that press conference the fight was officially off due to an undisclosed injury. And of course, with this fight being postponed again, this fight has had such negative consequences on Michael Chandler's career. It sucks because Michael Chandler had been officially promised this fight over a year ago, deserves this fight 100%, deserves the fight purse that comes with the Conor McGregor fight, and has been forced to be inactive for the last 2 years doing so. Unfortunately, when Conor said,
"You'll do what you're told,"
it was 100% truth. And in the words of Armand, him saying Michael Chandler could have lost 4 exciting fights during that time is kind of true. Say Michael Chandler didn't wait for Conor and moved on. Would he have really lost out on a Conor payout if he just kept fighting like normal? Since November 2022, Michael Chandler easily could have had 3 fights by now. Sometime in the first half of 2023, sometime in the second half of 2023, and finally once this year. In the beginning of 2023, a fight with Beneil could have been a likely possibility when Beneil was riding an 8-fight win streak and was gunning for a shot at a bigger lightweight name at the time, and eventually he got one in Charles. In terms of fight purse, Charles reportedly earned $500,000 base salary plus $50K performance of the night bonus, and that doesn't include sponsorships and pay-per-view money, which is estimated to bring him closer to $750,000 to $1 million, which is money I definitely think Michael Chandler could have similarly made, considering his name and notoriety of having exciting fights. Michael Chandler could have had another exciting fight against another rising contender in Arman Tsarukyan in the second half of 2023 had he won against Beneil Dariush, who fought Arman later in that year, who made a good $500K from that fight. And considering Michael Chandler has a bigger name than Beneil, he could have probably raked in maybe an extra $100,000-$200,000, again, not including pay-per-views, just base salary. If Michael Chandler had lost his theoretical fight with Beneil, he could have fought a guy like Gamrot, who was slowly rising back up the rankings, or Fiziev, who was slowly going down after his fight with Gaethje. Both guys made a guaranteed $250K in their fight in the second half of 2023, so if Michael Chandler had fought one of them, and considering his name is much bigger than the both, he could have easily made at the very least $400,000. And this might be a stretch, but I think if Michael Chandler won his last 2 fights, or at the very least his last fight with Gamrot or Fiziev in spectacular fashion, he would have been set up to fight Max Holloway at UFC 300. It just makes too much sense. No way Dana would have set up Justin for this fight in the first place if Michael Chandler was available. It would have made way more sense to wait out Justin so that he could fight for the title later, while Michael Chandler would have definitely been a big enough name to make a fight with Max Holloway at UFC 300. And with Justin Gaethje making base $750K and Max Holloway making a base $500K, I think Michael Chandler would have been within this range, and not to mention Max made the bonuses $300,000. And so with this fight going the way it went, Max and Michael Chandler would have probably gone the same in terms of excitement and easily would have been the fight of the night as well. And of course, this hypothetical conclusion is a bunch of conjecture and what ifs, but I estimate Michael Chandler could have made between $1.4 to $1.95 million had he just kept on fighting, and this is again just base salary. So this doesn't include sponsors or fight of the night or performance of the night bonuses that Michael Chandler, the most entertaining lightweight in the world, definitely could have got from practically every single one of these fights. I really think in the best case scenario, with Michael Chandler hitting that upper range and getting some type of bonus in every fight, especially UFC 300 to 300K, Chandler could have been making close to $2.5 million in the time that he's been waiting for Conor. And now we have to ask, does that money come close to what he could have made or still may get from his actual Conor fight? Most of his opponents' base salary make around $1 to $2 million, which is the range we have Michael Chandler currently at had he fought these last 2 years. Now, I will admit, the real money with fighting Conor lies in the pay-per-views, where both Conor and an opponent can make millions of dollars. But the pay-per-view bonuses on UFC 300 and the other two hypothetical fights for Michael, in the best possible scenario for Michael Chandler, could maybe have come close. But whatever the case might be from this hypothetical, what I'm trying to say is, had Michael Chandler not waited for Conor McGregor, he would have made pretty good money. Maybe not as much as he could make from a Conor fight if it actually happens, but it really just begs the question, would you rather have a guaranteed $2 million throughout the course of the last 2 years, or risk it, maybe make $2, $3, $4 million from a Conor fight, considering the pay-per-view bonuses? But the big catch here is that you have to rely on this guy to show up. That's a tough question, and as we can see, Michael Chandler is taking the latter, and in my opinion, it's been really taking a toll on his career, especially with him being 38 years old. It's well past his prime now for him to be fighting Conor and somebody else after. So in my opinion, it really sucks. Michael Chandler has wasted the last 2 years of his career, especially with how exciting he is. But I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on the Michael Chandler-Conor situation. Will this fight ever be actually rescheduled? Will this actually happen? Is Conor McGregor gone, and is Michael Chandler down in the shitter without a fight for the last 2 years? But anyways, thank you guys for watching, and of course, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.